Okay. In and out. Quiet. Efficient. No getting caught. Definitely no getting killed. Why is it so quiet? Creepy mansion, rich owner, easy money. Oh, that cannot be good. Okay. You are definitely worth stealing.
Enjoying your evening?
You know what? This probably looks worse than it is.
You broke into my home.
Fair. What is happening?
Stay with me.
Lucien!
Do not let it touch you.
What are you?
The biggest mistake of your life.
You belong to me now.
If anyone asks, I was not robbing the mansion. I was conducting a highly necessary, financially motivated retrieval operation. There's a difference, a very important one. Okay, I whispered to myself, crouched behind a marble statue that looked like it had personally judged generations of poor decisions. In and out. Quiet. Efficient. No getting caught. No getting killed. Especially no getting killed. The iron gates behind me had been surprisingly easy to slip through, which, in hindsight, should have been my first warning. Rich people don't make mistakes like that. Rich people with creepy, oversized mansions definitely don't. The estate stretched endlessly ahead, swallowed by shadows. Tall black spires clawed at the sky, and not a single window glowed with warm light. Just darkness, heavy, watchful darkness. Normal. Totally normal. Probably just one of those reclusive billionaire types, I muttered, adjusting the small satchel strapped across my shoulder. Weird, but harmless. Hopefully. I took another step forward. The gravel didn't crunch. That was my second warning. Gravel always crunches. I froze, slowly looking down. Nothing, just smooth stone. Right, I breathed. Of course. Silent ground. That's a thing people definitely install. I should have left. A smarter person would have turned around, climbed back over the gate, and reconsidered their life choices. Unfortunately, I am not that person. Rent was due, and rumor had it this place held artifacts worth more than entire city blocks. So, naturally, I kept going. The front doors towered above me, massive, carved, ancient. They didn't look like doors people used. They looked like doors people sealed things behind. Good news, I whispered. I'm not using those. I slipped along the side of the mansion, hugging the shadows, until I found a narrow window, slightly ajar. Now that was suspicious, but also convenient. And I've never trusted convenience in my life, unless I needed it. Which I did. Whoever you are, I murmured to the universe, I appreciate the poor security. I slid inside. Silence swallowed me whole, the kind of silence that presses against your ears. The kind that feels aware. I straightened slowly, eyes adjusting to the dim interior. Tall ceilings, endless hallways, flickering candles that looked like they hadn't been replaced in decades, but somehow hadn't burned out either. Antiques lined the walls. Paintings with eyes that definitely followed you. Rugs so thick they muffled every step. Okay, I whispered, forcing confidence into my voice. Creepy, yes, but also extremely profitable. I moved deeper inside. Every instinct I had was screaming. Not whispering, not suggesting. Screaming. Leave. Now, immediately. Instead, I pulled out a small folded map I'd sketched from memory. Main gallery's second hall left turn, I muttered. That's where the valuables should be. Step by step, I followed it. No guards, no servants, no sound, nothing, which somehow felt worse than being chased. Finally, I reached a large set of double doors. They were slightly open. Of course they were, because why wouldn't they be? Not suspicious at all, I said under my breath, pushing them gently. The room beyond took my breath away. Glass cases, jewelry. ancient relics. Gold, silver, gemstones that shimmered even in low light. Okay, I whispered, eyes wide. This is life-changing. I stepped inside slowly, like I might scare the wealth away. My gaze locked onto one piece instantly. A necklace. Simple, elegant, a deep crimson stone set in black metal. It didn't sparkle like the others. It glowed. Soft. Alive. Yeah, I said, already moving toward it. You're coming with me. I reached the case. No alarms. No locks. Just open. That's almost insulting, I muttered, lifting the lid. My fingers hovered over the necklace for a second. Then I grabbed it. Cold. Not metal cold. Something else. Something that felt like it pulsed once against my skin. I stiffened. Nope, I whispered. We're not thinking about that. I slipped it into my satchel. And that's when it happened. The air changed. It wasn't dramatic at first. Just heavier, colder. Wrong. The candles flickered all at once. Then steadied. I slowly straightened. Okay, I said quietly. You've had your fun. Time to go. I turned toward the door. And froze, because I wasn't alone anymore. Someone was standing there, leaning casually against the doorframe like he had always been there. Like he had been watching the entire time. Tall, dressed in black. Still. Too still. My heart slammed against my ribs. Enjoying your evening? He asked. His voice was calm, smooth, and completely, utterly wrong. I swallowed. Think fast. I can explain, I said. He tilted his head slightly, studying me. I would be fascinated to hear it. Great, I said quickly. So, funny story? This isn't what it looks like. You broke into my home, he replied. Okay, it is exactly what it looks like, but I have context. He pushed off the doorframe, didn't walk, just appeared closer. I blinked. Nope, I said immediately. I don't like that. Don't do that again. His gaze sharpened. You're not afraid? Oh, I am, I said. I'm just also aware that panicking won't improve my situation. A pause. Then something strange flickered in his expression. Not kindness. Definitely not. But interest. You are either very brave, he said slowly, or very foolish. Both, I replied. It keeps life exciting. Silence stretched between us. Heavy. Electric. Dangerous. He took another step closer. This time I saw it. The unnatural grace. The way the shadows seemed to lean toward him. The way the room itself felt. Obedient. And then, his eyes. Not human. Not even close. Oh no. Oh, I breathed. You're not a reclusive billionaire? He finished softly. I swallowed. Yeah, that was my first guess. And now, I tightened my grip on my satchel. Now I'm thinking, I've made a very serious mistake. The corner of his mouth twitched. You have. My pulse roared in my ears. Okay, I said carefully. But, good news, I can fix it. Can you? Yes. I put the necklace back. I leave. And we both pretend this never happened. He stared at me, unblinking, ancient, predatory. No, he said simply. No, you do not leave. My stomach dropped. That wasn't one of the options. It is now. I took a step back. He took one forward. I don't think you understand, I said, forcing steadiness into my voice. I have places to be. You broke into my estate, he replied. You stole from me. Borrowed. You will face the consequences. I glanced at the door. Distance. Not great. Odds of survival. Worse. Still. I ran. I made it exactly 3 steps. Then something caught my arm. Not grabbed. caught, like I had run into a wall that moved. I gasped as I was pulled back, fast, spinning straight into him, solid, cold, unyielding. Well, I said breathlessly, that was humiliating. You are not leaving, he repeated. Yeah, I got that part. I looked up at him. Big mistake, because up close, he was worse, more terrifying, more compelling. Please tell me this is the part where you let me go, I said. It is not. Right. Of course not. A beat. Then I exhaled. Okay. New plan. He raised a brow slightly. I don't die tonight. He considered that. Unlikely. Come on, I said. Be flexible. Silence. Then something shifted. Subtle, but real. His grip loosened just slightly. His gaze lingered. You intrigue me, he said. That feels like a dangerous sentence. It is. He stepped closer. And this time, I didn't step back. Not because I wasn't scared, but because something else had crept in. Something reckless, curious. You broke into the wrong house, he murmured. Yeah, I said quietly. I'm starting to realize that. His eyes darkened. No, he said. You broke into the only house that matters now. My breath caught. That doesn't sound better. It isn't. Before I could respond, the shadows around us deepened. The room seemed to fold inward, and suddenly, he pulled me against him. Not gently, not violently, just decisively. Wait. I started. Too late. Darkness swallowed everything. The last thing I heard was his voice, low against my ear. You belong to me now. And just like that, my very bad night became significantly worse, because I wasn't just caught. I was taken. Waking up in an unfamiliar bed is never a good sign. Waking up in an unfamiliar bed after being kidnapped by what is very clearly a centuries-old vampire. Significantly worse. I didn't open my eyes immediately, not because I thought I was still dreaming, because I knew I wasn't. Dreams don't feel this real, this heavy, this quiet. The silence was the first thing I noticed again. Not peaceful silence, not comforting silence. The kind that feels like the world is holding its breath, waiting for you. Great, I muttered under my breath. Still alive. That's unexpected. Slowly, cautiously, I opened one eye, then the other. Stone ceiling, dark beams, heavy velvet curtains drawn tight over tall windows. A room that looked less like a bedroom and more like something out of a royal nightmare. Okay, I whispered, pushing myself up on my elbows. Let's assess. Step 1. Am I tied up? I looked down. No ropes. No chains. No restraints. Oh. That's suspicious. Step 2. Door. Across the room. Closed. Of course. Step 3. Escape options. Window. I slid off the bed carefully. Every movement slow, deliberate. The floor was cold beneath my feet. Real. Everything felt too real. I crossed the room and pulled the curtain aside, and froze, because there was no outside. Not in the normal sense. No street. No city. No anything. Just endless dark forest stretching in every direction, swallowed by mist and night. Okay, I said slowly, that's not ideal. Unless I suddenly developed the ability to fly, or politely ask the trees to guide me out. I was not walking out of here. Fine, I muttered. We improvise. I turned toward the door, walked over, gripped the handle, paused. On a scale of 1 to terrible idea, I whispered, this is definitely terrible. I opened it anyway. The hallway beyond was massive, long, dimly lit by flickering candles that lined the walls like silent witnesses. Portraits stared down at me. Every single one of them looked like they knew something I didn't. "Good morning," I said to no one. "Or night. Or whatever time vampires operate on." No answer. Of course. I stepped out. The door clicked shut behind me. Too loud. Echoing. Announcing. "Right," I whispered. Subtle. Very subtle. I started walking. Slow at first. Then faster. Then, because panic was beginning to creep in, faster still. Left turn. Another hallway. Stairs. More stairs. Who builds this many stairs? I muttered. Do vampires not believe in convenience? Still no one. No guards. No servants. No sounds except my own footsteps. Which somehow made it worse. Finally, I reached a large open space. A hall. Huge. Cathedral ceilings. Long table. Chandeliers hanging like they hadn't been cleaned since the medieval era. "Okay," I said, stopping in the center. "If I were an evil vampire lord, where would I? You would not be wandering my castle." I froze, slowly turned, and there he was, leaning against one of the tall pillars, like he had always been there, like he had been watching. Again, "You really need to stop doing that," I said. "It's incredibly unsettling." His gaze swept over me, calm, assessing, annoyingly composed. "You are awake," he said. "Yes," I noticed. "And yet, instead of remaining where you were placed, you chose to explore." "I like to stay informed." "You like to disobey." "That too." A pause. Then, "You are not afraid of consequences." "Oh, I am," I said quickly. "I just don't let them control me." His expression didn't change, but something in the air did. "You are in my domain," he said slowly. "You do not make decisions here." "I disagree," I replied. "I make excellent decisions. For example, I've decided I don't like being kidnapped." "That is not a decision. That is an opinion." "Fine. Then, I've decided to leave." "No," I crossed my arms. "You keep saying that like it's final." "It is." "See, I don't love that for me." Silence. Then, "Why are you still alive?" I asked suddenly. That got his attention. A slight shift. Subtle. "But there, you broke into my home," he said. "You stole from me." "Yes, we've established that. You should be dead." "Correct. And yet, here I am. Breathing. Talking. Being charming." His eyes narrowed slightly. "You are neither subtle nor cautious." "Nope. Most would beg for mercy. Most would also not insult their kidnapper," I said. "But here we are." Another pause. Longer this time. He stepped closer, and I felt it again. That pressure. That unnatural presence, like the air bent around him. "Do you understand what I am?" he asked quietly. I held his gaze. "Yeah," I said. "I do. And yet, you continue to provoke me." "I'm not provoking you," I replied. "I'm trying to understand you." Something flickered again, that same strange interest. "Why?" he asked. "Because," I said simply, "people don't kidnap someone instead of killing them without a reason." "I am not people. Exactly my point." Silence stretched, tight, heavy. Then, "You intrigue me," he said again. I sighed. Still a dangerous sentence. Yes. Still not comforting. Good. I tilted my head. "Do you at least have a name?" He looked at me like the question itself was offensive. "You are in no position to demand anything." "I'm not demanding," I said. "I'm asking. There's a difference." A beat. Then, "Lucien." I nodded slowly. "Okay," I said. "Lucien. See? That wasn't so hard. You assume familiarity where there is none. You kidnapped me, I pointed out. I feel like we skipped formal introductions. His jaw tightened slightly. You will address me with respect. I will address you however I survive longest. A long silence. Then, you are exhausting. I've been told. And yet, he didn't finish that sentence, which was interesting. Very interesting. All right, I said, clapping my hands once. Now that we've established I'm alive and you have a name, what exactly is your plan here? You will remain. Yes, you've said that. I'm looking for details. You do not need details. I absolutely do. I'm not great with vague captivity. His gaze darkened slightly. You will stay in the room assigned to you. No, you will not wander my castle. Already did. You will not attempt to escape. Working on it. Something snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically, but I felt it. The shift. Danger sharpening. He moved. Fast. 1 second across the room. The next. Right in front of me. Too close. Enough, he said, voice low. Every instinct in my body screamed to step back. I didn't. You don't scare me, I said quietly. That was a lie. A massive, obvious lie. But I said it anyway. His eyes locked onto mine. Searching. Testing. Then. Good, he murmured. My breath caught, because that wasn't the reaction I expected. Fear is boring. You're kidding. I have ruled through fear for centuries, he said. It is. Predictable. And I'm not. No, a pause. Then. You are a complication. I blinked. That sounds like a you problem. It is, and yet, you kidnapped me. Yes. Still not seeing the logic. You are not meant to. I let out a breath. Okay, I said. New question. He said nothing. I'm assuming you're not planning to kill me immediately. No. Great. Progress. Love that. You should not. Too late. Another pause. Then. You will stay, he repeated. I met his gaze. And if I don't, silence, then I will make you. The words should have scared me more than they did. But instead, something else settled in. Something stubborn. Defiant. Yeah, I said softly. I don't think you will. His eyes darkened. Do not test me. I already am. A long, dangerous silence filled the space between us. And then, to my complete surprise, the corner of his mouth twitched. Not a smile. Not really. But close enough to count. You are either very foolish, he said, or very brave. I shrugged. Still both. Another beat. Then he stepped back. Just slightly. But it felt like a shift in gravity. You will remain here, he said again. And you will not kill me. Not yet. I'll take it. He turned away. Just like that. Like the conversation was over. Hey, wait, I called. He paused. Didn't turn. What? He said. I hesitated. Then. Why me? The question hung in the air. Heavy. Real. For a moment, I thought he wouldn't answer. Then. You will learn, he said. And without another word, he disappeared into the shadows. Just like that. I stood there for a long time after he was gone. Heart racing. Mind spinning. Okay, I whispered finally. So, kidnapped by a vampire. Trapped in a castle. No clear escape plan. I exhaled slowly. Then, a small reckless smile crept onto my face. This is going to be interesting, because for the first time since this whole disaster began, I wasn't just scared, I was curious, and something told me That was going to be far more dangerous. I didn't go back to the room immediately. That was my first mistake. Or maybe my second. It's hard to keep track at this point. The hall stretched endlessly in front of me. Quiet again. Too quiet. Like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't just stood inches away from me. Like I hadn't felt something shift in the air that I didn't understand. You will remain here. His voice lingered in my head, low and certain. I exhaled slowly, pressing a hand against my chest. My heart was still racing. Not just from fear. That was the problem. Okay, I whispered to myself, forcing my feet to move. Room. Go back to the room. Be smart for once in your life. I turned, retracing my steps through the corridors. The same walls, the same watching portraits. The same suffocating silence, but it felt different now. Like I was being followed, not by footsteps, by attention. I slowed, then stopped. The silence pressed in harder. Lucien? I called cautiously. Nothing. No answer. No movement. And somehow that was worse. Because I knew, deep down, I wasn't alone. I forced myself to keep walking. An turn. Another. Then finally, my door. I pushed it open quickly and stepped inside, shutting it behind me with more force than necessary. The click echoed. Too loud. Too final. I leaned back against it, closing my eyes. Get it together, I muttered. You're fine. You're alive. He didn't hurt you. He didn't hurt you. That thought lingered, unsettling, because he could have, easily, effortlessly, and he didn't. I pushed away from the door and moved further into the room, glancing around like I expected something to have changed while I was gone. It hadn't. Same bed, same heavy curtains, same stillness. I let out a breath and sat on the edge of the bed, rubbing my hands together to shake off the cold that hadn't left me since I woke up. All right, I said softly. Let's think. You're trapped. He's dangerous. You should be terrified. I swallowed. I am terrified. I corrected under my breath, but it didn't feel simple. Fear usually came with clarity. Run, hide, survive. This was something else. Confusion tangled with it. And something worse. Curiosity. A faint sound broke the silence. I stiffened. Not loud. Not obvious. Just a shift. Like fabric brushing against stone. Slowly, carefully, I turned my head toward the far side of the room. The shadows near the window felt deeper, thicker. My breath caught. You're there, aren't you? I said quietly. Silence. Long. Heavy. Yes. The word came from the dark, like it had always belonged there. I froze. I hadn't heard him enter. Hadn't felt it. One moment I was alone. The next, I wasn't. Okay, I said, my voice tighter than I wanted it to be. That's not unsettling at all. He didn't respond. I strained my eyes, trying to make him out. A shape. Still, watching, not moving. Do you just stand there? I asked. In the dark? Yes. Why? Another pause. Then. You left the hall. I blinked. That's your explanation. You were told to remain. And you thought hiding in my room was the best way to enforce that. I did not hide. You absolutely hid. Silence again. But this time, it felt different. Tighter. More aware. I shifted slightly on the bed, suddenly very conscious of the distance between us. Too much distance, or not enough. I couldn't decide which was worse. You're watching me, I said. Yes. My fingers curled against the fabric of the blanket. That's not normal. I am not normal. Right. I breathed. Forgot that part. The shadows shifted. Just slightly. And then he stepped forward, slowly, deliberately. Not the sudden, impossible movement from before. This time, I saw every inch, the controlled way he moved, the way his gaze never left mine. My body tensed instantly. This was it. This was the moment. Every instinct screamed the same thing. He's going to hurt you. I held my breath. He took another step closer, then stopped, not far. Close enough that I could see his face clearly now. Close enough that I could feel the cold radiating from him. But he didn't reach for me. Didn't grab me. Didn't trap me against the wall or the bed or anything at all. He just stood there, still, watching, waiting. My pulse pounded in my ears. "You're very quiet," I said, my voice barely steady. "You speak enough for both of us." Not helpful. Another pause. Long, uncomfortable. The kind that stretched too far, that made every second feel deliberate. I swallowed. "You're not going to do anything?" I asked. His brow shifted slightly. "Define anything. You know exactly what I mean. Say it." I hesitated, because saying it out loud made it real, made the fear solid. "You're not going to hurt me," I said finally. It wasn't a question. Not entirely. His gaze didn't waver. "No." The answer came too quickly. Too easily. I searched his face. Why? Silence. He didn't look away, didn't move. Just held my gaze like he was measuring something I couldn't see. "You expect violence," he said. "Yes." "Why?" I let out a short, humorless breath. "Because you're a vampire who kidnapped me and brought me to a castle in the middle of nowhere." A beat. "Fair." "That's it?" I asked. "That's all you have to say? It is accurate." I stared at him, then shook my head. "This doesn't make sense." "No. You should have killed me." "Yes, but you didn't." "No." The contradiction hung between us. Heavy, unresolved. I shifted again, my unease growing. "Then what am I to you?" I asked. That made something flicker in his eyes, subtle, but there. And for the first time, he looked uncertain. Only for a second, then it was gone. "You are here," he said. "That's not an answer." "It is the only one you will have." I exhaled slowly, dragging a hand through my hair. "Great. Love that. Very clear. Very comforting." Silence again, but this time, it wasn't just uncomfortable, it was charged, like something sat just beneath the surface, waiting. I looked at him. Really looked. At the stillness. The control. The way he kept his hands at his sides, fingers relaxed but deliberate, like he was holding himself back. And suddenly, I understood something. "You're choosing not to," I said quietly. His gaze sharpened. "Not to what?" "Not to hurt me." A pause. Then, yes, the word felt heavier this time, more intentional. "Why?" I asked again, softer now. Another long silence followed, longer than before. He stepped closer, just one step. My breath caught, but still, he didn't touch me. "You are different," he said. I let out a small, shaky laugh. I feel like that's not a compliment. It is not meant to be. Of course not. His eyes lingered on me. Studying, searching. "You do not behave as expected. Sorry to disappoint. You do not fear me, as you should." "I do," I said immediately. "Not enough." I hesitated, because he wasn't entirely wrong, and that scared me more than anything else. "I fear you," I said again, quieter this time. His gaze dropped briefly, to my hands, clenched, tense. Then back to my face. "But you do not submit to it," he said. "No." "Why?" I met his eyes. "Because if I do," I said softly, "then I stop being me." Something shifted, deeper this time, more dangerous. He went still, completely still. And the silence that followed, it wasn't empty anymore. It was full, heavy with something neither of us was saying. We stayed like that for a long moment, just staring, breathing, existing in the same space that suddenly felt too small. Then, without a word, he stepped back. The distance returned, not much, but enough to break whatever had just been building. "You will remain in this room tonight," he said. My chest tightened slightly at the shift. Back to control, back to distance. "Do I have a choice?" I asked. "No," I nodded slowly. "Right." He turned slightly, the shadows already beginning to pull toward him again. "Lucien," I said before I could stop myself. He paused. Didn't turn. "What?" he asked. I hesitated. Then, "Thank you." The words surprised even me. Silence followed. Long. Then, "For what?" he asked. "For not hurting me," I said quietly. Another pause. Then, "I have not decided your fate yet." "Still," I said, "I'll take the small victories." He didn't respond, and a second later, he was gone. Just like that. The room felt colder without him, quieter, but not empty. I sat there for a long time, staring at the space he had been, my heart finally beginning to slow. "You should be more scared," I whispered to myself. I should. I knew I should, but all I could think about was the way he had stood there close enough to hurt me, and didn't. And, somehow, that was the most dangerous thing of all. I didn't go deeper. That was the choice I made, not out of bravery. I told myself I would stay in the room. I even meant it. For about 10 minutes, long enough to sit on the edge of the bed, stare at the door, and replay every second of the night before. Long enough to remember the way he had stood there, close enough to break me, and didn't. That was the problem. If he had hurt me, things would be simple, clear. He's dangerous, run. But this strange, controlled restraint, it made everything worse. Curiosity kills people, I muttered under my breath, standing up anyway. And yet, here I am. The room felt smaller now, like the walls had shifted closer while I wasn't looking. Or maybe it was just the silence again. Thick, pressing, alive in a way that made my skin prickle. I crossed to the door slowly this time, not rushing, listening. Nothing. No footsteps, no movement, no sign of him. Still, I hesitated with my hand on the handle, because last time, I hadn't felt him either, and he had been there, watching, waiting. I exhaled quietly. "Fine," I whispered. "If you're out there, this is your chance to dramatically reappear and terrify me." Silence answered. Of course. I opened the door. The hallway greeted me the same way it had before. Long, dim, and impossibly still. Candles flickered along the walls, their light stretching and bending across dark stone like it didn't quite belong. The air was colder now, or maybe I was just noticing it more. I stepped out carefully, the door closing behind me with a soft click that echoed farther than it should have. For a moment I didn't move. I just stood there, listening, waiting. Nothing. But the feeling didn't go away, that subtle awareness. Like the castle itself knew I had stepped out again. "Okay," I murmured, wrapping my arms loosely around myself. "We're doing this differently. No rushing, no wandering aimlessly. If I was going to explore, I needed to pay attention. Every detail, every sound, every shift in the air." I started down the hall slowly, my steps quieter this time against the thick runner beneath my feet. The portraits were back. Of course they were. Tall, imposing frames lining the walls, each holding figures frozen in time. Nobles, warriors, women with unreadable expressions. Their eyes followed me. I was sure of it now. Not creepy at all, I whispered. One painting in particular caught my attention. A man dressed in black, standing against a storm-dark sky. His posture was familiar. Too familiar. Still, controlled, commanding. I slowed, stepped closer. The face was shadowed, but I didn't need to see it clearly. I knew. "That's you," I murmured. "Or him, Lucien. Only younger wasn't the right word. Less distant, maybe. Less hollow." I leaned in slightly, studying the details. The artist had captured something in his eyes. Something alive. Something that wasn't there anymore. A chill slid down my spine. "How long have you been here?" I whispered, more to myself than anything. No answer came, but I felt it again. That subtle shift, like attention turning toward me. I stepped back. "Right," I said quietly. "We're not lingering." I moved on. The hallway branched ahead. Left and right. I chose left. No reason, just instinct. The air grew colder the farther I went. The candles thinned out, their light dimmer, weaker, until the shadows stretched longer between them. Doors lined the walls now, tall, heavy, closed. Some looked untouched for years, others not so much. I stopped at the first one that looked different. The handle was worn, the metal dulled from use. I hesitated. "You've already made terrible decisions," I reminded myself. "One more won't hurt." I reached out slowly and pressed the handle down. Locked, of course. I tried the next one, also locked, and the next, same, a pattern. "All right," I murmured. "So whatever's in here stays in here." That didn't make me feel better. If anything, it made the doors feel heavier, more intentional. I kept walking. The silence deepened. Even my breathing felt too loud now. Then, a faint sound. I froze. It wasn't close, not in the hall, deeper, beyond one of the doors. I turned slowly, eyes scanning until they landed on it. The door at the far end, darker than the others, older. Something about it felt wrong. I stepped toward it carefully. The sound came again, soft, indistinct. Not quite a voice, but not nothing either. My pulse quickened. "This is a bad idea," I whispered. I didn't stop. The air grew noticeably colder with each step. My fingers brushed the surface of the door. It was colder than the rest, almost freezing. I pressed my ear lightly against it. Silence. Then, something shifted on the other side. I jerked back immediately. "Okay, nope." I breathed. "We're not doing that." I took a step back, then another. The door didn't move, didn't open, but the feeling lingered, like something behind it had noticed me. I swallowed hard and turned away. "Definitely not my problem," I muttered, picking up my pace. The hallway curved slightly, leading me into a wider corridor. More light here, more space. And at the end, a staircase, wide, grand, sweeping downward into shadow. I stopped at the top, stared, because something about it felt different. Not just another part of the castle. Something deeper, older, more important. "Of course," I whispered. "There's always a deeper level." I placed one foot on the first step, paused, waited. Nothing happened. No sudden appearance, no voice, no shadow moving unnaturally behind me. Still, the feeling didn't leave. That quiet awareness, that sense of being watched from somewhere I couldn't see. I descended slowly, one step at a time. The light faded the farther down I went. The air grew colder still, wrapping around me like something alive. By the time I reached the bottom, the silence had changed again, heavier, denser, like it didn't want to be disturbed. The hallway ahead was different, the walls darker, the candles fewer, and the doors fewer, stronger, reinforced. I exhaled slowly, my breath visible now in the cold. "Okay," I whispered. "So this is where the secrets are." A soft draft brushed past me, cold, directional, from deeper within. I turned my head slightly, following it. Something was down there, not a sound, not movement, just presence. I stood still for a long moment, staring into the darkness, my mind racing, questions stacking faster than I could sort them. Who is he, really? What is he hiding? And why am I still here? A faint flicker of movement caught my eye. Not ahead, behind. I turned sharply. Nothing. Just the empty staircase, the long stretch of steps leading back up. But the feeling, it was stronger now, closer. I didn't hear him, didn't see him, but I knew. My pulse spiked. "Lucien," I said quietly. Silence answered, but it wasn't empty. It never was. I stood there, caught between going deeper or turning back. And for the first time since I entered this place, I hesitated, because something told me whatever waited below wasn't meant for me to find. I didn't go deeper. That was the choice I made, not out of bravery, not even out of logic. Something in that lower corridor felt wrong. Not just dangerous, but deliberate. Like it was waiting for a mistake. And I'd already made enough of those, so I turned. Slowly. Carefully. Every step back toward the staircase felt heavier than it should have. Like I was being watched leave. Like something unseen had expected me to stay. I didn't look back. I climbed the stairs one at a time, the dim light growing stronger with each step. The air shifted too, less suffocating, but no warmer. By the time I reached the top, my shoulders had tensed without me noticing. I exhaled. Good decision, I whispered to myself. Rare. Impressive, the upper hall stretched out ahead, quiet as ever. The same flickering candles, the same watchful silence. But something had changed. Subtle, almost unnoticeable. The air felt tighter. I took a step forward, then stopped. Because I felt it, that presence again. Closer, this time. Not distant, not hidden. Here. My pulse kicked. Okay, I said softly, not turning yet. If you're going to appear out of nowhere again, just do it. Silence. A beat passed. Then, you disobeyed. The voice came from behind me. Low. Controlled. Too close. I turned sharply, and there he was. Lucien stood just a few feet away, perfectly still. No dramatic entrance, no sudden movement. Just there, watching. His gaze didn't flicker. Didn't soften. But something about it was different. Darker. Tighter. You really need to stop doing that, I said. Though my voice came out thinner than I intended. You left your room. I went for a walk. This is not a place for walks. Well, you didn't exactly provide a guidebook. Silence followed, but it wasn't empty. It pressed in. He stepped closer, slowly, deliberately. I felt it immediately, the shift in space. The way the air seemed to narrow between us. I didn't move, didn't step back, didn't step forward. I just stayed. You went below, he said. It wasn't a question. No, I replied. I didn't. A pause. You stood at the threshold. My chest tightened slightly. You were watching. Yes, of course he was. You didn't stop me. I considered it. And? His gaze sharpened. I wanted to see what you would do. I swallowed. And now you know. Yes, another step closer. Not fast. Not sudden. But enough. Too close now. I could feel the cold coming off him. Not just temperature. Something deeper. Something unnatural. You should not go there again, he said. Why? Because I said so. That's not an answer. It is sufficient. No, I said quietly. It's not. Silence snapped into place between us. Sharp. Immediate. His jaw tightened. Barely. But I saw it. You test boundaries you do not understand, he said. Then explain them. I do not owe you explanation. Then don't expect obedience. Another step. Closer. The distance between us shrank to almost nothing. My breath caught. Not because I wanted it to. Because my body reacted before I could stop it. This was it again. That edge. That moment where everything felt like it could shift. Violence. Control. Something worse. You continue to challenge me, he said, voice lower now. I continue to survive, I replied. His eyes flicked down, just for a second, to my lips. Then back up. My heart stuttered. That is not the same thing, he said. Feels the same to me. A beat. Then. He moved. Not fast. Not like before. This time, I saw it. Every inch. His hand lifted, slow, controlled. And for a split second, I thought, this is it. He's going to grab me. Me. Break whatever fragile line has been holding. My body tensed instantly. Breath shallow. Muscles locked. Waiting. Expecting. But he didn't touch me. His hand stopped just short of my arm. So close I could feel the cold radiating from it. But not contact. Never contact. The restraint was worse than anything else. Do you understand? He said quietly. How easily I could end you. Yes, the word came out steady. Even though everything in me tightened, then why do you stand here like this? Because I don't want to run. The thought came uninvited, unwelcome. I ignored it. Because running won't change anything, I said instead. His gaze held mine, unblinking. Searching. And you think this will? He asked. No, I said softly. I think this is already changing. Something flickered. Fast, gone too quickly to name. His hand remained there, hovering, not touching, like it cost him something not to. Step back, he said. The words were quiet, controlled. But there was strain beneath them now, subtle, real. I didn't move. Make me, I said. The second the words left my mouth, I knew that was a mistake. A sharp inhale, not mine. His, small, barely there, but I heard it. His eyes darkened instantly. Something broke through the control. Not fully, not completely, but enough. His hand closed the distance, not grabbing, not yet. Just brushing. The lightest contact against my wrist. Cold, electric. My breath hitched. Everything in my body reacted at once. Fear, sharp, immediate. And something else, something that didn't belong there. That shouldn't exist in this moment. I didn't pull away. I should have. I didn't. His fingers tightened slightly. Not enough to hurt. Enough to feel. You should not provoke me, he said, voice rougher now. I'm not. You are. Another inch closer. Our space collapsed completely. I could feel his breath now. Hold. Steady. Too close. You do not understand what you are doing, he continued. Then explain it, I whispered. His grip tightened, just a fraction, his control slipping. Not entirely, but enough to see it, enough to feel it. I am trying, he said, quieter now. Not to hurt you. The words landed heavier than anything else, because they weren't empty, they weren't casual. They were effort, real effort, and for the first time, I believed him. My pulse slowed slightly, not calm, never calm, but something shifted. You're doing a good job, I said softly. That did something. I saw it, felt it. His grip loosened, not fully, but enough. A crack in the tension. Then, like something snapped back into place, he stepped away, fast. Too fast. Distance slammed between us. The cold retreated with him. The air shifted, loosened, but the echo of it remained. Heavy, lingering. He turned slightly, jaw tight, gaze no longer on me. You will return to your room, he said. The words were controlled again, but not as steady as before, not untouched. I stood there for a moment, breathing, trying to steady something inside me that didn't want to settle. Lucien? I said quietly. He didn't turn. What? He asked. I hesitated. Then, you didn't have to stop. Silence, sharp, immediate. His shoulders went still, completely still. When he spoke again, his voice was lower, more dangerous. Yes, he said. I did. A beat. Then, go. I didn't argue this time, didn't push, didn't test. I turned and walked away, feeling his presence behind me the entire time, watching, holding distance, choosing it. And somehow, that felt more dangerous than anything else. I didn't sleep. I tried. I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, counting breaths, counting seconds, counting anything that might slow my thoughts. But every time I closed my eyes, I felt it again. His hand. Not grabbing. Not hurting. Just there. Close enough to cross a line. Choosing not to. That was the part I couldn't quiet, because it didn't make sense. Nothing about him did. By the time I gave up on sleep, the room felt too small again. Too quiet. Too aware. I sat up slowly, pressing my palms against my eyes before dragging in a steady breath. "Okay," I murmured. "We're not doing this all night." Talking to yourself wasn't ideal, but it was better than thinking too much. I swung my legs off the bed and stood, moving toward the window. The curtains were still drawn, thick and heavy, blocking out whatever passed for time outside. For a moment, I just stood there, listening. Nothing. No movement. No presence pressing at the edges of the room. Which should have been comforting. It wasn't. I turned slightly, the door. My gaze lingered on it longer this time. Then, a knock. Soft. Deliberate. I froze. Not loud. Not demanding. Just there. My pulse picked up. He had never knocked before. "Come in," I said, before I could second-guess it. The door opened slowly. Lucien stepped inside. No sudden movement. No shadows swallowing him whole this time. Just controlled. Measured. Like he had decided to be seen. I straightened instinctively. Something about the way he entered felt different. Less like a predator appearing. More like someone choosing to cross a line. Neither of us spoke at first. The silence settled between us, thick but not as sharp as before. He closed the door behind him. Soft click. My chest tightened. "You're awake," he said. "I didn't sleep." A pause. "Why?" I let out a quiet breath. "You're really asking that?" His gaze held mine. "Yes," I hesitated, then shrugged lightly. "New environment," I said. "Unpredictable host. Mild kidnapping situation." "Mild?" he repeated. "I'm coping." A flicker of something passed through his expression, too quick to name. He stepped further into the room, but not close. Not like before. He kept distance. Intentional. "You returned when I told you to," he said. "I'm capable of learning," I replied. "Are you?" "Sometimes." A small pause followed. Not tense. Not entirely. Just measured, like we were both choosing our next words carefully. "You went exploring again," he said after a moment. It wasn't an accusation, more like a statement he was testing. "I stayed on the upper level," I replied. "You approached the lower halls." "I didn't go in." His gaze sharpened slightly. "Why not?" I exhaled slowly. Because something about it felt wrong. A beat. Define wrong. I searched for the words. "Like it didn't want me there," I said. Or like it did, but for the wrong reasons. Silence followed. He didn't respond immediately. Didn't dismiss it. Didn't confirm it. Just stood there. Thinking. "You are perceptive," he said finally. That didn't sound like a compliment. It was not entirely one. Of course not. I shifted my weight slightly, watching him. "You don't want me down there," I said. "No? Why?" A pause, longer this time. His gaze moved, not away, but slightly past me, like he was choosing how much to say. "It is not a place for you," he said. "That's vague." "It is sufficient." "No," I said quietly. "It's not." The air shifted slightly. Not sharp, but present. He looked back at me fully now. "You push for answers you are not ready to hear," he said. "Then give me one I'm ready for." A pause. Something in his expression changed. Not softer, but less closed. "The castle is not as empty as it appears," he said. My chest tightened slightly. I figured that much. There are things here that are older than you understand. Older than you. A brief silence. Yes, that landed heavier than I expected. I studied his face, searching for something more. You control them? I asked. No. The answer came immediately. Too immediately. So they're just in here. I pressed. They remain where they belong. And if they don't, his gaze held mine. Then, I ensure they do. A chill slid down my spine. Okay, I said softly. That's not terrifying at all. You should be more cautious. I am cautious. You are curious. That too. Another pause, but this one felt different. Less like a standoff, more like something unfolding slowly between us. You didn't stop me earlier, I said. He didn't pretend not to understand. No. Why? His gaze dropped briefly, to my hands again, then back up. I wanted to see if you would listen. And now you know I do. Sometimes. I huffed a quiet breath. Better than never. A flicker of something almost like agreement passed through his expression, then faded. You should not test the limits of this place, he said. I'm not trying to. You are. I hesitated, then admitted. Maybe a little. Silence, but not sharp. Just, there. You're not what I expected, I said after a moment. His brow shifted slightly. And what did you expect? I tilted my head, considering. More immediate violence, I said honestly. A pause. And now, he asked. Now I don't know what to expect. That is not safer. I didn't say it was. Our eyes held. Longer this time. There was something in the space between us now. Quieter, but heavier. Not just fear, not just tension. Something layered beneath it. You think too much, he said. I have to. You don't exactly explain things. I explain what is necessary, which is very little. Yes, I let out a small breath. Convenient. For me. Another pause. Then, you could leave the door unlocked, I said. The words came lightly, but not entirely as a joke. His gaze sharpened just slightly. No, figured. You would try to escape. I would try to have the option. That is the same thing. Not entirely. Silence stretched. Then. You would not make it far, he said. I don't doubt that. Then why persist? I met his gaze, because not trying feels worse. That seemed to land somewhere. Not visibly, but I felt it. A shift. Small, but real. You are persistent, he said. I've survived worse than this. A pause. I didn't answer immediately. Then. Different, I said. His gaze lingered on me longer this time. Not assessing. Not entirely. Something quieter. You are not afraid of me in the way you should be, he said. I am afraid, I replied softly. His head tilted slightly. Then why stay? The question caught me off guard. Because I didn't have a clean answer. Because running wasn't an option. Because something about him made me hesitate. I don't have anywhere to go, I said finally. It wasn't the whole truth, but it wasn't a lie either. Silence followed. He stepped back slightly, not far, but enough. Distance again. Intentional. You will remain here tonight, he said. It wasn't as sharp as before. More. Settled. Do I still not have a choice? I asked. No. I nodded slowly. Consistent. A faint pause. Then, if you require anything, he said, you will ask. I blinked. That's new. It is practical. For who? A beat. Both. That surprised me more than it should have. I studied him again. You're adapting, I said. His expression didn't change. I am managing a situation. Same thing. No. Close enough. Another silence. But this one didn't feel as heavy, still uneasy, still uncertain, but less sharp. "Lucien," I said quietly. He paused. "What?" he asked. I hesitated. "Then, you didn't have to come check on me." A small shift, almost nothing. But I saw it. "I did," he said. "Why?" A pause. Longer than before. His gaze held mine. "Then, to ensure you understood." "Understood what?" Silence. Then, quietly, "that you are not alone here." Something in my chest tightened. Not fear. Not entirely. "Yeah," I said softly. "I'm starting to get that." His gaze lingered a second longer. Then, he turned, moved towards the door, and just before he opened it, he stopped, not looking back. "You should still be afraid," he said. The words were quiet. Not a threat. Not exactly. More like a warning. Then, he left. The door closed behind him with a soft click. I stood there for a long moment after he was gone. The room felt different again. Still quiet. Still cold. But not empty. I exhaled slowly, crossing my arms lightly as I stared at the door. "Yeah," I murmured. "That's the problem." Because I was afraid. I just wasn't sure anymore. Of what? I woke to movement, not sound, not footsteps. Just the feeling. That quiet shift in the air that I was starting to recognize before my mind could catch up. My eyes opened slowly. The room was dim, the curtains still drawn, the faint glow of candlelight stretching across the stone walls. And he was there, not hidden, not in the shadows, standing near the window, still as if he had always been part of the room, watching. My breath caught before I could stop it. "You're staring again," I said, my voice rough from sleep. His gaze didn't move. "Yes, at least you're honest." Silence. I pushed myself up slowly, the blanket slipping slightly as I sat. My body was slower this time, aware of him, of the distance, of how quickly that distance could disappear. "You've been here long?" I asked. "A while." "That's not unsettling at all. It is not meant to be." I let out a quiet breath, dragging a hand through my hair. "Do you ever knock first, or is that a one-time courtesy?" "When it is necessary." "And this wasn't?" "No, of course not." I shifted my legs off the bed, standing carefully. My bare feet met the cold floor, grounding me just enough to steady the unease building under my skin. He didn't move, didn't step closer, but his attention followed every small motion, measured, intentional. "You watch everything," I said. "Yes." "Why?" A pause. Not long, but enough to feel chosen. "To understand." "Understand what?" "You." That should have felt like a threat. Maybe it was, but it didn't land like one. It settled somewhere quieter, more complicated. I crossed my arms loosely, tilting my head slightly. "And what have you learned so far?" "That you do not listen." "That's fair." "That you are curious beyond reason." "Also fair." "And that you continue to place yourself in situations you do not control." I exhaled softly. "Working on that one." His gaze held mine, unblinking. "You went toward the lower halls again," he said. It wasn't a question, and my shoulders tensed slightly. "I didn't go down," I replied. "You approached." I stopped. "Because I told you to." "Because it felt wrong," I corrected. A pause. Then, yes, the agreement was quiet, unforced, and somehow that made it more noticeable. I shifted my weight, studying him. "You were watching again," I said. "Yes." "Do you ever stop?" "No." "That's comforting." "It should not be." "No," I said softly. "It really shouldn't." A brief silence settled. Then, "You will not go there again," he said. The tone had changed. Subtle, but clear. Less suggestion, more decision. I felt it immediately. That shift. "You're not asking," I said. "No." I crossed my arms tighter. "And if I do?" His gaze sharpened. He stepped forward. "Just once. Enough." Too close again. My breath hitched, but I held my ground. "Then I will stop you," he said. Not loud, not aggressive, but certain. My pulse picked up. "Like before?" I asked. A flicker of something moved through his expression. More effectively, a beat. Then, "I'm not your prisoner," I said quietly. "You are in my domain." "That's not the same thing." "It is." "No," I said, holding his gaze. "It's not." Silence snapped between us, heavy, charged. He didn't move, didn't reach for me, but the space between us felt thinner now, tighter. "You believe you have more control than you do," he said, "and you believe you have all of it." Yes, that should have ended it. Should have shut me down, but instead, "Then why didn't you force me?" I asked. The words came out softer than I expected. His jaw tightened, slightly. "You know what I mean," I added. Another pause, longer. "You resisted," he said. "That's not an answer." "It is part of one." I searched his face. "And the rest?" Silence. He didn't look away, didn't step back, but something in him pulled tighter. Controlled, like he was choosing what not to say. "I chose not to," he said finally. The words were measured, deliberate. "And that was worse." "Why?" I asked. His gaze dropped, brief, to my wrist. The same place his hand had touched before, then back to my eyes. "Because it was unnecessary." My breath caught slightly. Unnecessary. Not impossible. Not difficult. Just a choice. I swallowed. "That's not very reassuring. It is not meant to be." A small, quiet laugh slipped out of me. "Yeah. I'm starting to notice that." The tension didn't break, but it shifted. Subtle, like something beneath it had changed shape. "You will remain close to this level today," he said. I blinked. "That's new. It is practical." "For who?" A pause. "For you." The answer came without hesitation, and that caught me off guard. I studied him more carefully now. "You're giving me boundaries," I said. "Yes. That's oddly considerate for someone who kidnapped me." "It is not consideration." "What is it?" A slight shift in his posture, barely visible, but there. Control. I let out a slow breath. "Of course it is." Another pause. Then, "You will not wander alone," he added. I frowned slightly. "I've been doing that this whole time." "That will change." "And if I say no?" He stepped closer again. Not fast, not sudden, but deliberate enough to pull my focus completely. My back didn't move, but my body reacted anyway. Tension tightening, awareness sharpening. "Then, I will accompany you," he said. The words were low, close. My pulse jumped. "That sounds less like a threat," I said, "and more like a problem." "It is neither." "It definitely is." A beat. Then, "You are safer when I am present," he said. The statement was simple, uncomplicated, and that unsettled me more than anything else he'd said, because part of me, a small quiet part, believed it. I exhaled slowly, looking away for a second before forcing my gaze back to him. "That doesn't make me feel better," I said. "It should." "It doesn't." A pause. Then, "You are still here," he said. "That's not the same thing." "No," he agreed. "It is not." Silence settled again, but this time, it wasn't sharp. It wasn't pushing. It just stayed. heavy, present. I shifted slightly, stepping past him toward the table, needing space even if it was only a few feet. He didn't stop me, but I felt it. His attention following, tracking. Close. "You don't explain anything," I said, my voice quieter now. "I explain what is necessary. That's your favorite line. It is accurate." I turned back to face him. "And what am I to you?" I asked. The question came before I could stop it. His expression didn't change, but something behind it did, subtle, guarded. "You are here," he said. "That's still not an answer. It is the only one you will receive." Frustration flickered under my skin. Convenient. For me. I huffed a quiet breath. Of course. Another pause. Then, without warning, he moved, not toward me, past me. Fast, a blur at the edge of my vision, the door. It opened before I could process it, and just as quickly, closed again. A figure stood there for half a second. Barely visible, then gone. I froze. "What?" "You will remain inside," Lucien said sharply. The tone had changed completely. Gone was the measured calm. This was something else. Immediate. Protective. Possessive. My heart kicked hard against my ribs. "What was that?" I asked. He didn't answer. Didn't look at me. His focus stayed on the door. Still, listening. The room felt tighter. Smaller. "Lucien," I said, more firmly now. "What was that?" A pause. Then, "Nothing you need to concern yourself with." "That's not an answer. It is sufficient." "No, it's not," I snapped. He turned then. Fast, too fast. The movement pulled me still instantly. "You will stay in this room," he said. The words were low, controlled. But there was something under them now, something sharper. "You don't get to just—" "I do." Silence hit hard. My chest rose and fell unevenly. I should have pushed, should have argued. But something in his expression stopped me. Not anger. Not exactly. Something more focused, protective. And that confused me more than anything else. "You're not telling me something," I said quietly. "No. At least you're consistent." A brief pause. Then, "I will return," he said. Before I could respond, he was gone. The door closing behind him with a soft, final click. I stood there, staring at it. The room felt different again. Not empty. Not safe. But contained, like something had just been kept out, or kept away from me. I wrapped my arms around myself slowly, my thoughts tangling in ways I didn't like. "You are safer when I am present." His words echoed in my head, and that was the problem, because I didn't trust him. I shouldn't trust him, but for the first time since this started, the idea of him not being there didn't feel like freedom. It felt like something else entirely. He didn't come back immediately. I told myself that was a good thing. It gave me space, time to think, time to remind myself of what this was, what he was. Dangerous, unpredictable, not someone I should be getting used to. And yet, the room felt too quiet without him. I noticed it in small ways at first. The stillness pressed harder. The shadows felt deeper. Every faint sound made my shoulders tense, just a little more than before. "You're fine," I murmured, pacing slowly near the edge of the room. "You were fine before he showed up. You'll be fine now." The words didn't land the way they should have, because before, the danger had been everywhere. Now it felt focused, and his absence made everything else feel less predictable. I stopped pacing after a while, the restless energy fading into something quieter. My gaze drifted to the door again, lingering there longer than I intended, waiting. I didn't like that. I exhaled softly and turned away, moving toward the window instead. I pulled the curtain back just enough to look outside. Still night. Still endless. The forest stretched out like it had no edges, swallowed by mist and darkness. No lights, no movement. Nothing. Right, I whispered. Not going that way. I let the curtain fall back into place and leaned lightly against the wall, arms crossing loosely. Time passed, slowly. The kind of slow that makes you aware of every breath, every shift of weight, every small thought that creeps in when there's nothing to distract you. I wasn't sure how long I stood there before I felt it again. That shift. Subtle. Familiar now. My body reacted before my mind did, shoulders straightening slightly, breath catching just for a second. The door opened without a sound. I didn't turn right away. Not this time. I let the moment stretch. Let the awareness settle. Then, slowly, I looked over my shoulder. He stood just inside the doorway, still, controlled, watching. The same as always, but not quite. Something about the way he held himself felt quieter, less sharp, not relaxed. Never relaxed, but not as tightly wound as before. You're back, I said. Yes. I turned fully this time, pushing away from the wall. You were gone a while. I had matters to attend to. Of course you did. A pause settled between us. Not heavy, not empty, just there. I didn't fill it immediately. And neither did he. For a moment, we just stood there, looking, measuring, adjusting. It should have been uncomfortable. It wasn't. Not entirely. He stepped further into the room, the door closing behind him with a soft click. His gaze moved briefly, taking in the space, then returning to me. You remained inside, he said. I can follow instructions, I replied. Sometimes. Occasionally. A faint shift touched his expression, gone too quickly to name. I noticed it anyway. I noticed everything now. You said I wouldn't wander alone, I added. So I didn't. That was wise. I have my moments. Another pause. Quieter this time. He didn't move closer. Didn't close the distance the way he usually did. And I didn't move away. The space between us stayed, steady, balanced, in a strange way. What was that earlier? I asked, after a moment. His gaze didn't flicker. What do you believe it was? I exhaled softly. That's not an answer. It is not meant to be. Of course it isn't. I studied him for a second longer, then shook my head slightly. You're not going to tell me. No. Even if I ask nicely. No. Worth a try. A small silence followed. Then, it will not enter this room, he said. The words were simple, but deliberate. I felt them settle. Not reassurance. Not exactly. But something close. You sound certain, I said. I am. I hesitated. Then. Is that supposed to make me feel better? Yes, it kind of does. That surprised me, more than I wanted it to. His gaze lingered on me a moment longer, like he noticed it too. Neither of us commented on it. Instead, the silence returned. But it wasn't the same as before. It didn't press. Didn't demand. It just existed. Shared. I shifted slightly, moving toward the table, my fingers brushing lightly against its surface as I leaned back against it. He watched the movement, not intensely, not sharply, just aware. You said I'd be safer if you were here, I said. Yes. I glanced at him briefly. You still think that? I know it. Even with whatever that was. Yes. A pause. I nodded slowly. Okay. The word felt strange. Too easy. Too accepting. I pushed off the table again, restless energy settling into something quieter, less frantic. You're very calm about all of this, I said. I am not calm. I raised a brow slightly. You look calm. That is not the same thing. I studied him more carefully, and, for the first time. I saw it, not obvious, not dramatic. But there, a tension beneath the stillness, controlled, held tight. "You're holding back," I said, a beat. "Yes, from what?" Silence. "Then, that is not necessary for you to know." I let out a quiet breath. Another non-answer. "Yes," I huffed softly, consistent. A faint pause. Then, "You are less afraid," he said. The observation came without warning. I stilled slightly. "Am the first?" "Yes, I considered that." Turned it over carefully. "I'm still cautious," I said. "That is not the same." "No," I admitted. "It's not." Another pause. His gaze held mine, steady, unwavering. "And that doesn't concern you?" I asked. "It does." "Why?" A longer silence followed this time. He didn't look away, but something in his expression shifted, not softer, just deeper. "Because it changes how you behave," he said. "And that's a problem?" "It could be." I tilted my head slightly. "For who?" "For you." The answer came quietly, without hesitation, and something in my chest tightened again. That same strange pull. I looked away for a second, just to break the weight of it. "That's unexpectedly considerate," I said. "It is not consideration." "Then what is it?" A pause. "Then, awareness." I glanced back at him. "That sounds like a nicer version of the same thing." "It is not." "Close enough." A faint shift passed between us again. Not quite tension, not quite ease. Something in between. I leaned back against the table once more, arms crossing loosely as I watched him. "You're different too," I said. His brow moved slightly. "In what way?" "You don't rush toward me anymore." "I did not rush." "You did," I said. "Before." A pause. Then, "I am choosing not to now." The words settled slowly, carefully, like everything else he said. "Why?" I asked. Silence followed, long, measured. Then, "Because it is not necessary." I held his gaze, and if it was, another pause, this one heavier. "Then, I would." The simplicity of it sent a quiet chill through me. Not fear, not entirely, just awareness of what he was, of what he could be, and the fact that he was choosing not to. Again, I exhaled slowly. Good to know. The silence returned, but softer now, less sharp around the edges. We stayed like that for a while, not speaking, not moving much, just existing in the same space, aware of each other, of the distance, of the choice to keep it. My gaze drifted to the window again. Then back to him. "You could leave the door open," I said quietly. His eyes narrowed slightly. "No, figured. You would try to leave." "I might." "You would." A small smile tugged at my lips, still optimistic. Still predictable. Maybe. Another pause. "Ben." "Lucien," I said. He didn't move. "What?" he asked. I hesitated. Then, "Why do I feel safer when you're here?" The question slipped out before I could stop it. And for the first time, he didn't answer immediately. The silence stretched. Longer than usual. He stepped forward, just once, not closing the distance completely. But enough. My breath slowed slightly, not from fear. "Something else. You should not," he said. The words were quiet, careful. "I know." "Then do not." "That's not how that works." Another pause. His gaze held mine. Steady. Unreadable. Then, "You are making a mistake," he said, "probably. And yet, you continue." "Yeah," The word came out softer than I expected. Honest, unfiltered. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of everything we weren't saying. Everything we weren't ready to say. Then he stepped back. Distance returned. Controlled. Intentional. "You will remain here tonight," he said. The familiar words, but quieter now. Less force. "Do I still not have a choice?" I asked. "No," I nodded. "Okay." No argument this time. No push. Just acceptance. And that felt strange. He turned toward the door, paused. "You should rest," he said. "I'll try." A beat. Then, "I will remain nearby." The words were almost an afterthought, but they settled heavier than anything else. I watched him carefully. "You don't have to," I said. "I know." Another pause. Then he left. The door closed softly behind him. I stood there for a long moment, staring at it, listening, feeling. The room didn't feel as tight now. Still quiet. Still shadowed. Still unfamiliar, but not as overwhelming. I exhaled slowly, running a hand through my hair as I moved back towards the bed. "You are making a mistake." His words echoed quietly in my mind. And he wasn't wrong. That was the problem, because I knew exactly what he was. I knew what this place was. I knew none of this was safe. And yet, as I lay back against the bed, staring up at the dark ceiling, I couldn't ignore the one thing that kept settling deeper with every passing moment. I wasn't just afraid anymore, and that was where the real danger began. I knew something was different before I opened the door. It wasn't a sound, not exactly. Just pressure, the kind that sits. I knew something was different before I opened the door. It wasn't a sound, not exactly. Just pressure, the kind that sits under your skin and refuses to settle. I stood there for a moment, hand hovering over the handle, listening to nothing, and somehow that made it worse. "You're imagining things," I muttered. I wasn't. I opened the door anyway. The hallway looked the same. Candles flickering, shadows stretching, silence settling like dust over everything, but it felt occupied, not empty like before. Not just watched, shared. My shoulders tensed without permission. "Okay," I whispered. "We're being cautious today." I stepped out slowly, letting the door close behind me. One step, then another. My eyes scanned everything now. Corners, doorways, the ends of the hall where darkness pooled too thickly. Nothing moved. But something was there. I could feel it. I turned the corner and stopped. Someone stood at the far end of the corridor. Not Lucien. My stomach dropped instantly. He was taller than I expected. Lean, still, dressed in dark layers that blended too easily into the shadows. His posture was relaxed, but wrong, like it wasn't real relaxation, like it was something practiced. He didn't move, didn't approach, just watched. My pulse kicked. "You're not him," I said. A faint smile touched his mouth. "No," he replied. His voice was smoother than I liked. "I am not." Silence stretched. I didn't move closer. Didn't run. Just stayed. Measuring. "Then who are you?" I asked. He tilted his head slightly, studying me the way Lucien did, but without restraint. "Interesting," he murmured, almost to himself. He wasn't exaggerating. My chest tightened. He talked about me. "Oh, not in words," he said lightly, "but one can tell when something has his attention." Something about the way he said it made my skin prickle. "And you are?" I pressed. He took a step forward, slow. My body reacted instantly, tension locking into place. "I could ask you the same," he said. I asked first. Another step. Closer now. Too close. "And yet," he said softly, "you are the one who does not belong here." My fingers curled slightly at my sides. That makes two of us. A flicker of amusement crossed his face. I belong exactly where I am. Great, I said. Then we're all set. He stopped a few feet away, close enough that I could see his eyes clearly now. Not human. Not even pretending. There was something colder in them than Lucien's. Something less controlled. You're human, he said. Last I checked, and alive. Still working on that part. His gaze sharpened slightly. That's unusual. Yeah. I've been getting that a lot. A pause. Then. Does he keep you here willingly? He asked. My chest tightened. That's a weird question. It is a direct one. Then I'll give you a direct answer, I said. I'm still figuring that out. His eyes flicked over me slowly, assessing, calculating. Curious, he murmured. The words sent a chill down my spine. Yeah, I said. That seems to be a theme. He stepped closer again. Instinct kicked in. I stepped back, just once. That was enough. Something shifted in his expression. Interest, sharper now. Do you know what he is? He asked. Yes, and you're not afraid. I am. Not enough. That's what he said. A pause. Something darker moved behind his gaze. And yet he allows you to walk freely, he said. I wouldn't call this free. No, he agreed. I suppose not. Another step. I didn't move this time, not because I wasn't afraid, because I was tired of stepping back. You should be careful, he said. Why? I asked. Because attention from someone like him. He tilted his head slightly. It rarely ends well. My pulse spiked. That sounds like a warning. It is. For me, for you, he said softly. And for him. The words barely left his mouth. When the air shifted, sharp. Immediate. Cold. The temperature dropped so fast it stole my breath. The man in front of me didn't move. But his smile faded. Slowly. You shouldn't have come here, a voice said behind me. Low. Controlled. Deadly. I didn't need to turn. I knew. Lucien. The pressure in the hallway changed instantly. Heavier. Focused. I felt it at my back. Close. Too close. I was invited, the other man said calmly. You were tolerated, Lucien replied. I swallowed, my pulse hammering now. The distance between them felt fragile. Like it could snap at any second. You've been keeping secrets, the man said lightly, and you have been overstepping. A pause, sharp. Unforgiving. I was curious, the man continued. That's all. Your curiosity is not welcome here. Clearly, silence fell. Tight. I stood there, caught between them, not moving, not speaking. Then, Lucien stepped forward. Close, closer than before, not toward the other man, toward me. His presence settled at my back, solid, cold, unmistakable. A hand brushed lightly against my arm. Not gripping, not forceful, just there, claiming space. I froze. You will step away from her, Lucien said. The words were quiet, but absolute. The man's gaze shifted to me, then to Lucien. Something unreadable passed between them. Then, he stepped back, slowly, deliberately. Possessive, he murmured. Lucien didn't respond. Didn't move, but the hand at my arm didn't leave, didn't tighten either. Just stayed. You've changed, the man added. That is not your concern. No, he said. But it is interesting. A pause. Then, you should leave, Lucien said. I intend to. The man's gaze returned to me one last time, lingering, too long. Be careful, he said softly. Then, he was gone. Just like that, the hallway emptied, but the tension didn't. It stayed. Heavy. Pressing. Lucien's hand was still on my arm. Light. Controlled. But unmistakable. I exhaled slowly. You want to explain that? I asked. Silence. I turned slightly, just enough to look at him. His expression was colder now. Everything softened before was gone. What did he say to you? He asked. The question was immediate, direct. My brows pulled together slightly. Nothing you didn't hear. What did he ask? Who I was? Why I was here? And what did you say? That I'm still figuring it out. His gaze held mine, searching. You will not speak to him again. The words landed hard, not a suggestion. A command. That's not entirely up to me, I said. It is. No, I replied quietly. It's not. A pause. His jaw tightened. Barely. You do not understand what he is, Lucien said. I don't think I fully understand what you are either. Silence snapped between us, sharp. Then, his hand tightened, just slightly, not enough to hurt, enough to feel. You will avoid him, he said. The control in his voice was back, but there was something under it now, something closer to anger, or something else. Why? I asked. He is not safe. And you are? A beat. His gaze darkened. No. The honesty caught me off guard. Then what's the difference? I asked. Another pause. Then, I choose not to harm you. My breath caught slightly. And he wouldn't. No. The answer came without hesitation. Cold. Certain. I searched his face. You're not telling me everything. No. At least you're consistent. A faint shift, then. You will remain close to me, he said. The words were quieter now, but heavier. That same note from before. Possessive. Protective. I couldn't tell which. Close to you? I repeated. Yes, that sounds like a new rule. It is. I studied him carefully. You don't trust him. No. And you don't trust me around him. Silence. Then. No, that one landed differently. Why? I asked. His gaze didn't waver. Because you do not see danger the way you should. That's not my fault. No, he said. It is not. Another pause. The tension shifted again. Not gone, but quieter. You could have told me, I said. It was not necessary. It kind of was. Now it is. I let out a slow breath. Convenient timing. Yes, I shook my head slightly. You're impossible. And yet, he said quietly, you remain. The words settled between us. Heavy, uncomfortable, too real. I glanced down at his hand still resting on my arm, then back up at him. You're still holding me, I said. A beat. Then, he let go. Slowly. Deliberately. The absence of it felt just as noticeable. You should return to your room, he said. Back to control. Back to distance. But not quite the same. Yeah, I murmured. That seems to be the solution to everything. It is effective. For you. For now. I nodded slowly, then turned. Walking back down the hall, I could feel it again. His presence. Closer than before. Following. Not watching from a distance this time. Staying near. I reached my door and paused for a second before opening it. You're going to stand out here again? I asked without turning. Yes. I let out a quiet breath. Of course you are. I stepped inside. The door closed behind me, but the feeling didn't go away. If anything, it felt closer. I leaned back against the door, staring at the empty room. My thoughts were louder now. Messier, because something had changed. Not just in him, in me. I didn't trust him. I couldn't. But when that other man had stepped closer, when the air had shifted, when something in me had said run, it wasn't him I had feared. And that That was a problem I didn't know how to fix. I didn't move from the door for a long time. My back stayed pressed against it, as if the thin wood could hold everything out. Questions, fear, whatever had just shifted in the hallway. It couldn't. Nothing here felt like it kept anything out. I closed my eyes, forcing a slow breath in, then out. "You're fine," I whispered. The words felt hollow now, because something had changed, not just out there. In here, I pushed away from the door eventually, but the room didn't feel the same anymore. It was smaller somehow, tighter, like the walls had learned something I hadn't. Or maybe I had learned something I didn't want to. I crossed the room slowly, my steps quieter than usual, my thoughts louder. He is not safe. I already knew that. But I choose not to harm you. That was the part that stayed. That was the part that didn't make sense. I sank onto the edge of the bed, elbows resting on my knees, hands clasped loosely as I stared at the floor. "You should be afraid," I muttered softly. That hadn't gone away, but it wasn't clean anymore. It wasn't simple. It tangled. Fear, confusion. Something else I didn't want to name. Because naming it would make it real. A faint shift in the air pulled my attention up. My body reacted instantly now, subtle, automatic. Awareness settling before thought. I didn't turn. Not immediately. "You're still out there," I said quietly. A pause. Then, "Yes." His voice came through the door. Low, close, not distant. Something in my chest tightened. "You've been standing there this whole time?" I asked. "Yes." "Why?" Silence followed. Not empty. Not dismissive. "Just waiting for you to settle," he said finally. I let out a soft, almost disbelieving breath. "That's not your responsibility." "No." "Then why do it?" Another pause. Longer this time. I could feel it. Him choosing what not to say again. "You were unsettled," he said. "That's an understatement." "I am aware." A faint, tired laugh slipped out of me. "Are you?" "Yes." The certainty in his voice made something in me falter, just slightly. I leaned back slowly, letting myself fall against the mattress, staring up at the ceiling again. "You didn't have to stay," I said. "I know." Silence stretched. I swallowed, the weight of everything pressing heavier now. "You could leave," I added, softer. "No." The answer came immediately. No hesitation. No pause. Just no. My chest tightened again. "Why?" I asked. The word felt smaller this time, quieter, more honest than I intended. There was a long pause on the other side of the door, long enough that I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "Because he saw you," Lucien said. The words were controlled, but there was something under them. Tighter. "He talked to me for 5 minutes," I said. "That is enough." "For what?" Silence. Then, for him to remember. A chill slid down my spine. "And that's bad?" I asked. "Yes." "How bad?" Another pause. Then, "I do not allow threats to remain unaddressed." The words settled heavily. Clear, cold, and final. I closed my eyes briefly. "Am I a threat too?" I asked. The question slipped out before I could stop it, before I could decide if I wanted the answer. The silence that followed was different. Not sharp, not tense, just quiet. Then, "No." The word came softer than anything he had said before. And somehow, that made it worse. I exhaled slowly, turning my head slightly toward the door, even though I couldn't see him. "You don't sound convinced," I said. "I am." "Then why does it feel like you're not?" Another pause. Long, measured. Then, "Because you are unpredictable." A small, humorless smile tugged at my lips. Yeah. I've heard that before. It complicates things. For you. Yes, I stared at the ceiling again, letting the silence stretch, letting everything settle. Or try to. You could have told me, I said after a while. It was not necessary. It would have been nice. I do not prioritize. Nice. No, I murmured. You really don't. Another pause. But this one felt softer, less guarded. I shifted slightly on the bed, one arm resting over my eyes. You said I should be afraid. I said. Yes, I am. Not enough. That's the problem. I whispered. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Before I could decide if I wanted him to hear them. The silence that followed was immediate, focused. What do you mean? He asked. His voice was quieter now, closer. I hesitated. My arm stayed over my eyes, like that somehow made it easier to speak. It would be easier if I was, I said. Afraid? Yes, a pause. Why? Because then I wouldn't feel this. I didn't say that. Instead, I let out a slow breath, because then I wouldn't have to think about it, I said. Think about what? Another pause. Longer. He didn't push immediately. Didn't demand. Just waited, and somehow that made it harder. This, I said finally. You. Being here. Not hurting me. Silence. Then. That is what troubles you? He asked. Yes, a beat. Then. You prefer certainty. Yes, and I do not provide it. No. Another pause. The quiet stretched, but it didn't feel empty. It felt shared, heavy in a different way. I should hate you, I said softly. The words barely made it past my lips, but they hung there anyway, unavoidable. The silence that followed. It changed, not sharp, not cold. Something deeper, and yet you do not, he said. It wasn't a question. I swallowed. No? Why? I let out a small, breathless laugh. If I knew that, this would be a lot easier. A pause. Then. You are tired, he said. The observation was quiet, accurate. I didn't argue. Yeah, I admitted. I am. Because you are thinking in circles. Yes, then stop. I let out another soft breath. That's not how it works. I am aware. A faint shift. Then. You think I do not understand this? He added. My arm lowered slowly from my eyes. I stared at the ceiling, then turned my head slightly toward the door. Ow. Do you? I asked. Silence. Long, then. I have spent centuries avoiding it, he said. The words were quiet, controlled, but they landed heavier than anything else. I pushed myself up slowly, sitting again. My gaze fixed on the door now. What does that mean? I asked. Another pause. Then. It means, he said carefully, that this is not unfamiliar. My chest tightened. Has this happened before? No. The answer came quickly. Too quickly. I narrowed my eyes slightly. That didn't sound convincing. It is the truth. Then what's not unfamiliar? Silence stretched. Long enough that I could feel him deciding again. What to give. What to keep. Then. The loss of control, he said. The words were measured. Deliberate. And real. I went still. You feel that? I asked quietly. Yes. When? A pause. Then. When you are near. My breath caught. Just slightly. I didn't speak. Didn't move. Didn't even try to process it right away. Because if I did, it would mean something. Something I wasn't ready to face. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full. Too full. You should rest, he said after a moment. His voice had shifted back. Not completely, but enough. Distance. Control. Again. Yeah. I murmured. Probably. I didn't lie back down right away. I just sat there, staring at the door, feeling the weight of everything he hadn't said. Everything he had. You're still there? I asked quietly. Yes. A pause. Then. Good. The word slipped out before I could stop it. Before I could take it back, silence followed. But it wasn't sharp. Not anymore. I lay back slowly, pulling the blanket over myself, my eyes fixed on the dark ceiling. The room felt the same, cold, quiet, unfamiliar, but something had shifted beneath it, something heavier, something I couldn't ignore anymore. You should be afraid, his voice echoed in my mind. And I was afraid of him, of this place, of everything I didn't understand. But as my eyes slowly closed, as exhaustion finally pulled at me, there was one thought that stayed louder than the rest. I wasn't just afraid of what he could do. I was afraid of what would happen if he didn't. I woke before I was ready, not from a sound, from a feeling. I woke before I was ready, not from a sound, from a feeling. That quiet, pressing awareness again, the kind that doesn't belong to dreams. My eyes opened slowly. The room was dim, unchanged. The same shadows stretched across the walls, the same heavy stillness settling over everything. But something was different. I could feel it, not outside. Inside, a lingering weight from the night before. From what he had said, from what he hadn't. I pushed myself up slowly, the blanket slipping as I sat. My body felt heavier than usual, not from exhaustion alone, from thinking too much, from not understanding enough. I ran a hand through my hair, exhaling quietly. Okay, I muttered. We're not spiraling today. That lasted about 3 seconds, because the moment I looked at the door, I felt him. There, close, not moving, not leaving, waiting. I didn't call out this time. I didn't need to. The door opened on its own, slow, deliberate. Lucien stepped inside. His movements were the same as always, controlled, precise. But something about him felt different, quieter, not softer, just more distant. He closed the door behind him. Soft click. The sound echoed longer than it should have. We didn't speak immediately. The silence settled between us, not sharp, not tense, but not easy either. Just waiting. You're awake, he said. Yes, my voice came out steadier than I expected. I watched him carefully. He didn't step closer, didn't linger near the bed. He stayed where he was, distance, intentional. You remained in your room, he said. I'm starting to see the pattern. A faint pause. You should continue to follow it. Maybe. Silence again. But this time, it didn't stretch comfortably. It held something under it. Something unspoken. I shifted slightly, my fingers curling loosely against the blanket. You said something last night, I said. His gaze held mine. Yes, you said he saw me. Yes, and that was a problem. It is. I studied his face, looking for something, anything. You still haven't told me why. A pause. Long, measured. His eyes didn't leave mine, but something in them closed, just slightly. You do not need to know everything, he said. That's your favorite excuse. It is not an excuse. It kind of is. Silence. He didn't argue, didn't correct me, just stood there. And that was worse, because it meant he was choosing this. Choosing not to say it. Lucien, I said more quietly. A beat. What? He asked. You took me from that house. Yes, you didn't kill me. No, you brought me here. Yes, I swallowed. You keep saying I don't understand what's happening. That is correct. Then explain it. Silence. Long enough that my chest tightened, long enough that I almost looked away. I didn't. I cannot explain all of it, he said finally. The words were careful, controlled. But some of it, I pressed. Another pause. Then, you were not meant to leave that place alive. My breath caught. The words didn't land all at once. They settled slowly, piece by piece. What? I asked quietly. You entered my domain without permission, he said. You took something that does not belong to you. I was going to put it back. That is irrelevant. The interruption was quiet, not harsh, but firm. I stilled. Then why didn't you kill me? I asked. A pause. His gaze didn't waver. I intended to. The words hit harder than I expected. Cold, clear, final. For a second I couldn't speak. My mind stalled. Tried to catch up. You intended to. I repeated. Yes, and then you didn't. No. Silence filled the space between us. Thick, heavy. I searched his face, looking for something to make it make sense. I don't understand. I said, you are not meant to? That's not good enough. It will have to be. I let out a shaky breath, pushing myself fully upright now. That's not how this works, I said. You don't get to just say that and stop. I do. No, I said, more firmly this time. You don't. A pause. Something in his expression shifted. Not anger. Not exactly. Something. Restrained. You want clarity, he said. Yes. You will not have all of it. Then give me what you can. Silence. Long. Deliberate. Then. You should have died the moment you touched that necklace, he said. My chest tightened. What? It is not an object meant for you. I didn't know that. It does not matter. I shook my head slightly. Then why didn't it? I stopped. Why didn't something happen? A pause. His gaze held mine. You tell me. The question caught me off guard. I don't know, I said. Exactly. Silence followed, but now it felt different, heavier, colder. You survived something you should not have, he continued. And that's bad? Yes. Why? Another pause. Then. Because it should not be possible. I stared at him, trying to process that, trying to make it fit. It didn't feel impossible, I said slowly. That does not change what it is. My thoughts tangled quickly. That doesn't make sense, I said. It does not need to. It does to me. Silence. Then. You are connected to something you do not understand, he said. The words were quieter now. More careful. My stomach dropped. What does that mean? Another pause. Longer. This time, he looked away first. Just briefly. But enough. It means, he said slowly, that your presence here is not accidental. The room felt colder, smaller. What are you saying? I asked. That you were not simply a thief in the wrong place. Then what was I? Silent. He didn't answer. Didn't even try. Lucien, I said, my voice tightening. What was I? A beat. Then. That is not something I can confirm. The words landed like a wall. Cold, immovable. You're not making any sense, I said. I am giving you what I can. It's not enough. I know. The quiet honesty in that hit harder than anything else. I looked away for a second, dragging a hand through my hair as my thoughts spiraled. Shock came first, then denial, then something worse. The slow creeping realization that he wasn't lying. You're saying I should have died, I said. Yes, and I didn't. No. And now? What? A pause. Then. Now, he said, others will notice. My chest tightened. Like him. Yes. Silence stretched. I swallowed hard. And you brought me here anyway. Yes. Why? The question came out softer this time. Less demanding, more uncertain. He didn't answer immediately. His gaze returned to mine, steady, unreadable. I made a decision, he said. That's not an explanation. It is the only one you will receive. Frustration flared, sharp, immediate. You're keeping something from me. Yes, at least you admit it. It is necessary. For who? A pause. Then, for both of us. I let out a breath, shaking my head slightly. That's not reassuring. It is not meant to be. Of course it wasn't. Silence settled again, but now it felt heavier than before, weighted with something real, something I couldn't ignore anymore. I looked at him again, really looked. You said I'm connected to something, I said quietly. Yes. What? A long pause. Then, I do not know. The answer came softer this time, less certain. And that scared me more than anything else. You don't know, I repeated. No, but you brought me here anyway. Yes. Why? Another pause. Long, deliberate. Then, because leaving you there would have been worse. The words were quiet, careful, and incomplete. I felt it immediately, the part he wasn't saying. What does that mean? I asked. He didn't answer, didn't move, just held my gaze, and said nothing. The silence stretched, long, heavy, full of everything he wasn't giving me. My chest tightened slowly. You're not going to tell me, I said. No. I let out a slow breath. Of course not. Another pause. Then, you should remain inside today, he said. The shift in tone was subtle, but clear. Back to control, back to distance. I nodded faintly. Yeah, I murmured. That seems to be the theme. Silence lingered one last time. Then, he turned, moved toward the door, and just before he left, he stopped, not looking back. You are not what you believe you are, he said. The words were quiet, measured, and then he was gone. The door closed behind him. I sat there for a long time after, not moving, not speaking, just thinking. The room felt colder now, smaller, too full of questions I didn't have answers to. You should have died. The words echoed. Over and over, I looked down at my hands, at my skin, at something that suddenly didn't feel as simple as it had before. What am I? I whispered. No answer came, just silence, and the growing, unavoidable feeling that whatever this was, I didn't stay in my room. I didn't stay in my room. Not this time. I tried. For a while, I sat on the edge of the bed, replaying everything he had said, every pause, every unfinished sentence, every moment where he chose silence over truth. You should have died. You are not what you believe you are. It echoed. Loud. Relentless. And the worst part, I believed him. That was the problem, because if he was right, then nothing about this was random. Not the house, not the necklace, not me being here, which meant, I'm not staying in this room, I said under my breath. The decision didn't feel reckless. It felt necessary. I stood slowly, my body tense but steady, and moved toward the door. My hand hovered over the handle, just for a second. Then, I opened it. The hallway was empty, but it didn't feel empty. It never did anymore. I stepped out anyway, careful, quiet, aware. Every step felt sharper than before, like the castle itself was watching now. Not passively, actively, waiting, testing. You're doing this, I murmured. You're actually doing this. I moved down the hall, slower than usual, my eyes scanning every shadow, every corner. Nothing moved. Nothing revealed itself. But something was different. The air felt thinner, like something had shifted while I wasn't looking. I reached the staircase, paused, looked down. The lower halls, the place I had avoided. The place he told me not to go. The place that felt wrong. My chest tightened. "This is a bad idea," I whispered. I didn't turn back. I stepped down. One step. Then another. The air changed immediately. Colder. Heavier, like stepping into something that had been waiting too long. My grip tightened slightly on the railing as I descended, each step echoing faintly in the silence. No candles down here. No light, except what filtered faintly from above. Shadows swallowed everything else. I reached the bottom, and for a moment, nothing happened. No movement, no sound. Just that same quiet pressure, but stronger now, closer. I exhaled slowly, forcing myself forward. "You wanted answers," I muttered. "This is where they are." The corridor stretched ahead, darker than I remembered. Doors lined the walls, all closed, all silent, all wrong. I approached the first one, paused, listened, nothing. My hand lifted slowly, then stopped. A sound, faint, behind me. My breath caught as I turned. Nothing there. The staircase stood empty. Still, I swallowed. "Okay," I whispered. "Still a bad idea." But I didn't go back. I turned forward again. And this time, the door in front of me was open. My stomach dropped. It hadn't been before. I knew it hadn't. I hadn't touched it. Slowly, carefully, I stepped closer. The darkness inside the room felt deeper than it should have been, like it wasn't just the absence of light, like it was something else entirely, waiting. I leaned slightly, trying to see inside, and something moved. Fast. Too fast. A shadow shifting where no shadow should be. I jerked back instantly, my pulse slamming against my ribs. "Nope," I breathed. "Absolutely not." But I didn't run. I didn't leave, because something else, something stronger, was pulling me forward. "Just a look," I whispered. "That's it." I stepped inside. The temperature dropped sharply. The air felt wrong against my skin. Heavy, thick, like breathing through something unseen. My eyes adjusted slowly. Shapes began to form. Stone walls, bare, empty. Except, at the center of the room, a pedestal. And on it, the necklace. My breath caught. No way. It was the same one. The one from the house. The one he said should have killed me. My feet moved before I could stop them. One step, then another. Drawn, pulled, like it was calling me. "This doesn't make sense," I whispered. "It shouldn't be here. It shouldn't exist twice. Unless this was the original." My chest tightened. "Okay," I said quietly. "We're not touching it again." I stopped a few feet away, staring, trying to think, trying to understand, and then a voice, not behind me, not in the hall. Inside the room, close, too close. "You shouldn't be here." My entire body went still, slowly. I turned. He stood in the doorway. Lucien, but not like before, not controlled, not distant. There was something different in his eye, something sharper, something closer to fear. "You need to leave," he said. The words came fast, urgent. I stared at him. "You said this would have killed me," I said. "It should have, but it didn't." No, silence hit hard. "Then tell me why," I demanded. "I can't. You won't." His jaw tightened, both. My chest rose and fell unevenly. "You said I'm connected to something. I pressed. Is it this? A pause. Then, yes. The answer landed like a strike. I took a step back, my pulse spiking. And you brought me here anyway, I said. Yes. Why? Silence. Then, because if you hadn't come here, he said slowly, they would have found you first. My breath caught. They. The word barely left my lips when the air changed. Violently. The room darkened, not gradually, not naturally. Instantly, the shadows twisted, moved. Alive. My heart slammed against my ribs. Lucien, get away from it, he said sharply. But it was too late. The necklace. It moved, not falling, not shifting, lifting, slowly. As if something unseen held it. The air thickened, the pressure built. Something was there, something watching, something waking up. What is that? I whispered. His gaze locked onto mine, and for the first time, there was no control left in his voice. They found you. The shadows surged. The necklace pulsed with a dark, unnatural glow. And something inside the room, something unseen, reached for me. Lucien moved. Fast. Too fast to follow. His hand closed around my wrist. Cold, firm, real. Do not let it touch you. The force hit. Everything shattered. Light, sound, air. Gone. And the last thing I felt, before the darkness swallowed everything, was his grip tightening, and his voice. Right next to me, hold on. Darkness didn't feel empty. It felt full. Pressing, watching, knowing. I couldn't tell where my body ended and the void began. There was no ground beneath me, no air in my lungs. Just that same pull, stronger now, like something had finally found me, like it had been waiting. Hold on. His voice, distant, breaking through, then pain, sharp, sudden, real. Air slammed back into my chest as I gasped, my body jerking violently as if I'd been dragged across something unseen. Cold hands gripped me, firm, unyielding. Lucien. The world snapped back in fragments, stone beneath me, darkness retreating, but not gone. The necklace, still hovering, still glowing. I couldn't breathe properly. What was that? I choked. Lucien didn't answer immediately. His arm was around me now, pulling me back, away from the center of the room, away from it. His grip was tighter than before. Not controlled, not distant, desperate. It reached for you, he said. His voice was lower, rougher. I forced myself to look up at him. That's not an explanation. No, he said, it isn't. The shadow shifted again, closer, hungrier. I felt it, that same pull, stronger now that it had touched me. I don't think it's done, I whispered. It isn't. The words landed hard. What do we do? I asked. A pause, then we leave. Simple. Final. But as he pulled me toward the door, the air snapped. The force hit again, stronger, violent. I cried out as something invisible wrapped around my wrist, tight, burning, dragging me backward. Lucien didn't let go. His grip locked around me instantly. Let go, he said. Low, dangerous, not to me, to it. The shadows twisted violently. The necklace pulsed brighter. My vision blurred. It's pulling me, I gasped. I know. His voice was right there, close, grounding, but even that felt like it was slipping. I can't. You can. His hand tightened. Then he moved, fast, not away, forward, straight toward the center of the room. Lucien, what are you doing? ending this. The words were sharp, certain, terrifying. Before I could react, he pulled me with him, right toward the pedestal, toward the necklace, the thing that wanted me. No, wait, too late. The moment we crossed the threshold, everything exploded. Light, dark, sound, silence, all at once. The force surged, wrapped around both of us now. Not just me. His arm locked tighter around me, holding, anchoring. "You are not taking her," he said. The words weren't just spoken, they echoed. Through the room, through the shadows, through whatever was trying to pull me away. Something answered, not in words, in pressure, in force, in something ancient and wrong. My vision fractured, but I felt it. His hand, still holding mine, still refusing to let go. And then, he did something I didn't expect, something I didn't understand. He let the darkness touch him, deliberately. It surged instantly, violent, hungry, wrong. I felt it wrap around him, pulling, clawing, trying to drag him under the same way it had tried with me. "Lucien, no. Stay with me," he said. Not loud, not desperate, just certain, like a promise. The shadows twisted harder, the necklace flared, and then it stopped. Not gradually, not slowly, instantly, like something had been cut off, severed. The force vanished, the pressure collapsed, the room went still, completely. I gasped, collapsing forward, but his arm caught me before I hit the ground. Everything felt quiet again. Too quiet. Too sudden. "What did you do?" I whispered. He didn't answer. His grip loosened slightly, just enough. I pulled back, looking up at him, and froze. Something was wrong. His expression was still controlled, still calm, but his eyes, they weren't the same, darker, deeper, like something had stayed. "Lucien?" A pause. Then, "We need to leave." His voice was steady, but distant. I swallowed. "You're not okay." "I am." "That's not convincing. It does not need to be." The words were colder now, sharper. Not the same. Fear curled low in my chest, not of the shadows, not of the necklace, of him. "What did you do?" I asked again. A longer pause this time. Then, "I made a choice." The same words as before, but this time, they felt heavier. I stared at him. "You keep doing that," I said quietly. "Yes, and it keeps getting worse." Silence. He didn't deny it. That was the worst part. "We're leaving," he said again. This time, it wasn't a suggestion. I didn't argue. I couldn't. Because something had changed, and I wasn't sure I wanted to understand it yet. He led me out of the room, his grip still firm around my wrist. Not hurting, not gentle either. Just there, like he wasn't going to let go again. We moved quickly through the corridor, up the stairs, back into the upper halls. The air felt lighter here, safer. But the tension didn't fade. Not completely. Not with him like this. He didn't speak. Didn't slow. Didn't look at me. And that felt worse than anything else. We reached my door. He stopped. Just for a second, then opened it. "You will stay here," he said. I didn't move. I just looked at him. "You're different," I said. A pause. Then, yes, the honesty hit harder than anything else. "Why?" I asked. Silence. Long, heavy. Then, "Because I chose you." My breath caught. The words settled slowly, carefully, dangerously. "That doesn't explain anything," I said. "It explains enough." "No," I whispered. It really doesn't. He didn't argue, didn't explain, just looked at me. And for the first time, I couldn't read him at all. Not even a little. Fear and something else twisted together in my chest. You should be afraid now, he said. The words were quiet, but they weren't a warning anymore. They felt like a truth. Then, he stepped back and closed the door. I stood there for a long time, not moving, not thinking, just feeling, because something had shifted. Not just in the room, not just in the castle, in him. And whatever he had done, whatever he had taken on, it wasn't over. It had just begun. He didn't come back that night, and for the first time, that didn't make me feel safer. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the door like it might open on its own. Like he might step through it and explain everything. He didn't. Hours passed. Or maybe it was minutes. Time didn't feel real anymore. Nothing did. You should be afraid now. The words repeated in my head, over and over. And the worst part, I was not in the same way as before, not sharp, not immediate, something deeper, slower. Because I had seen it now. Whatever was inside that room, whatever had reached for me, he had stepped into it, chosen it, and something had followed him back. I stood suddenly, the restlessness too much to ignore. I'm not staying in here again, I muttered. The words felt familiar now, like a pattern I couldn't break. I opened the door. The hallway was empty, quiet, still, but not wrong. Not like before. Something had changed. Again, I stepped out slowly, listening. Nothing. I moved forward anyway. Drawn. Not by fear this time. By something else. Something I didn't want to name. I found him near the far end of the corridor, standing by one of the tall windows, looking out into the endless dark, still, unmoving. For a moment, I just watched him, trying to see what had changed, trying to understand what I was feeling. You weren't going to come back, I said. He didn't turn. No. Why? A pause. I needed to ensure the threat was contained. And is it? Yes. The answer came too quickly, too clean. I stepped closer, slowly, carefully. You're lying, I said. Another pause. Then, yes. I stopped. That wasn't what I expected. Why admit that? I asked. Because it changes nothing. That's not true. It is. Silence stretched between us. Heavy, uncomfortable, real. I took another step closer. You're different, I said again. Yes. You keep saying that like it's nothing. It is not nothing. Then, explain it. He finally turned, slowly. And the moment his eyes met mine, I felt it. That shift. Darker. Colder. But underneath it, something familiar still there, fighting. I cannot, he said. That's not good enough. It will have to be. Frustration flared. You don't get to just decide that. I already have. The words hit hard, sharp. Final. I flinched before I could stop it. His gaze flickered slightly. Not softer, but aware. You're pushing me away, I said quietly. Yes. Why? A pause. Then, because it is necessary. For who? For you. I shook my head. That doesn't make sense. It does. No, I said. It doesn't. Another pause. Longer this time. Then, what happened in that room, he said slowly, was not meant to happen. You keep saying that. And you keep ignoring it. I'm trying to understand it. You should not. That's not how I work. I am aware. Silence again. But this time, it didn't feel shared. It felt divided, like something had split between us. You said you chose me, I said. Yes, then stop shutting me out. A pause. His gaze held mine. And for a second, just a second, something cracked. You do not understand what that choice cost, he said. The words were quieter now. Heavier. Then tell me, I said. Silence. Then. I cannot risk you further. That's not an answer. It is the only one you will receive. Frustration tightened in my chest. Every time I get close to understanding, you shut it down. Yes. Why? His jaw tightened. You make it difficult to maintain control. The words hit differently. More honest. More real. Then stop trying so hard, I said. A beat. His gaze darkened slightly. That is not an option. Why not? Silence. Then, because I am already losing it. My breath caught. The admission was quiet, but it landed like a blow. And that's because of me, I asked. Yes. The answer came without hesitation. I swallowed. That's not fair. No, he agreed. It is not. Silence stretched again, but this time, it wasn't tense. It was heavy. Full. I didn't ask for this, I said. I know. Then why does it feel like everything is changing because of me? A pause. Then. Because it is. The honesty stung, but it also clarified something. Slowly, painfully. I looked at him. Really looked. And for the first time, I saw it clearly. He wasn't just dangerous. He was struggling, holding something back. Something that was getting harder to contain. You're afraid too, I said quietly. Beat. Then, yes. That settled something in me. Not comfort. Not safety. But understanding. Small. Fragile. Real. I took one more step closer. He didn't move away. You should have let me go, I said. His gaze sharpened. No. Why? A pause. Then, because I cannot. The words were quiet, but absolute. My chest tightened. That's not a good reason. It is the only one. Silence. Then, I'm not leaving, I said. The words came before I could stop them. Before I could question them. His gaze shifted slightly. Do not make decisions you do not understand, he said. Too late. Another pause. Then. You are making a mistake. Probably. And yet, you continue. Yes. The word felt steady. Certain. Even if everything else wasn't. We stood there for a long moment. Not speaking. Not moving. Just existing in the same space again. But different now. Closer. More dangerous. More real. Then, a faint sound echoed through the hall. Distant, but unmistakable. Not wind. Not silence. Something else. His entire posture shifted instantly. Sharp. Focused. Protective. They're here, he said. My pulse spiked. Who? But I didn't need the answer. Because, this time, I felt it too. Stronger than before. Closer. Coming. What do we do? I asked. His gaze locked onto mine. And for the first time, there was no hesitation, no distance. Just decision. You stay with me. The words were firm. Final. And this time, I didn't argue. The castle didn't feel the same anymore. It wasn't just quiet, it was waiting. Every shadow felt heavier. Every corridor stretched longer. Every flicker of light seemed weaker. Like something was pressing in from the outside. Something that didn't belong here. Or maybe, something that had always been trying to get in. I stayed close to him, closer than before. Not because he told me to, because I wanted to. That realization unsettled me more than anything else. You can still run, he said, as we moved through the hall. His voice was controlled again, but not distant. Not anymore. No, I said. A pause. Why? I glanced at him briefly. Because whatever's coming, it's not just about you. Silence. Then, no, he said quietly. It is not. We stopped at the center of the main hall. The air shifted, cold, sharp. And then, the doors opened. Not slowly, not carefully, violently. The force echoed through the entire castle, and they stepped inside. 3 of them. Not human. Not even close. Their presence filled the room instantly. Heavy, ancient, wrong. My breath caught. Those are the ones you were worried about, I whispered. Yes, that's comforting. It should not be. One of them stepped forward. Slow. Measured. You've been hiding her, he said. His voice was smooth, but colder than anything I'd heard before. Lucien didn't move, didn't respond, just stood there, between them and me. You should not have come here, Lucien said. On the contrary, the figure replied. We were invited. A pause. Then, our kind always finds what belongs to it. My chest tightened. I felt it again, that pull. Stronger now, like something inside me was reacting to them. Answering. No, Lucien said quietly. The word carried weight. Finality. She is not yours. The figure tilted his head slightly. Are you certain? Silence. Then, Lucien stepped closer. Just slightly. Enough. Too close. His presence grounded me instantly. You will leave, he said. The control in his voice was back, but this time, it wasn't just restraint. It was warning. The figure smiled faintly. I don't think you understand the situation anymore. A pause. Then, we felt it, he continued. The moment she touched it, my pulse spiked. The necklace. You awakened something, he said, his gaze shifting to me. And now, you belong to it. Fear hit sharp. Immediate. I stepped back instinctively, and Lucien moved with me, blocking, shielding. You will not take her, he said. You've already lost her. The words landed like a strike, and for a split second, I felt it. That pull again, stronger than ever. Something inside me responding, reaching, calling. I gasped, my hand gripping his arm instinctively. Lucien. I know. His voice was tight now, controlled. Barely. You feel it, he said. Yes. Do not let it take you. I'm trying. The pressure built. The air warped. The shadows twisted, just like before, but stronger, worse. And this time, it wasn't just reaching for me, it was waking inside me. The figure smiled. There it is. No, Lucien said sharply. His hand tightened around mine, cold, steady, real. Stay with me. The same words, the same promise, but this time, it felt like a battle. Not just against them, against something deeper, something already pulling me away. I don't know if I can, I whispered. His grip tightened. You can, but what if... You can. The certainty in his voice cut through everything, sharp, grounding, real. The pressure surged, the pull deepened, and for a moment, I felt it. The choice. Stay or let go. Become something else, something unknown, something dangerous. My breath shook, my thoughts blurred. Everything tilted, and then I made a decision. I held on to him, hard, tight, refusing to let go. The force collided, light exploded, and everything went still. Silence, heavy, final. The pressure disappeared. The pull vanished, and when I opened my eyes, they were gone. The hall stood empty again, No figures. No shadows. No threat. Just us. I gasped, my grip loosening slightly as reality settled back into place. What just happened? I whispered. Lucien didn't answer immediately. His hand was still holding mine, tighter than before, not letting go. You chose, he said. The words were quiet, but final. I swallowed. And now? A pause. Then. Now they know. The air felt heavier again. Not immediate danger. Something worse. Something coming. I looked at him. You said I'm not what I think I am. Yes. Then what am I? Silence. Long, deliberate. Then, his gaze held mine, steady, unavoidable. You are the beginning of something that should not exist. My breath caught. And that's bad? A pause. Then, for everyone, he said. The words settled, heavy, final. I stared at him. The weight of everything pressing in at once. Fear, confusion, something else, something deeper. What do we do now? I asked. His grip tightened slightly. His gaze didn't leave mine, and for the first time, there was no distance left between us, no restraint, no hesitation. We survive, he said. The answer was simple, but it carried everything. Because this wasn't over, not even close, and whatever I was, whatever I had become, it had just turned both of us into something else entirely. Not captor, not captive, something far more dangerous, bound, and the night was only just beginning.